Hotel Transylvania 3 Monsters Overboard is a Pikmin clone. In fact, it was the first Pikmin-like game to be released on the Switch, predating more notable indie titles and even Pikmin itself. I consider myself to be a bit of a Pikmin enthusiast. That's an understatement, but I'm always excited to play other games that take such clear inspiration from the series. Games that mold all the Pikmin-y bits and pieces into a completely unique experience that stands on its own. And for better or for worse, this is apparently one of them. But aside from a handful of jokes about Monsters Overboard being the long-awaited Pikmin 4, I never really knew what this game was actually about. So screw it! Let's play a Pikmin-inspired Adam Sandler adjacent license game and see if it does anything interesting with the Pikmin formula. The adventure begins with everyone just chilling on a cruise ship as we watch a slideshow presentation for an opening.
Dennis, Frank, check out this marvel of engineering.
I'm not even looking at it.
Suddenly, a massive storm hits and all of the monsters are sent overboard, just like the title. And after waking up on the beachside, you get the single most important decision of your life. Now, there are those who probably have a very strong opinion about this matter, but I can't pass up my main man, Drac. And after taking a few steps forward, we find this game's Pikmin equivalent, the Impas. From Zelda. And just like Impa, they come in all different forms. Except I don't think Impa gets her powers like this. Or maybe she does, I don't know. Impas are your little minions who'll stand by your side, and to control them, all the basics are here. You got throwing, whistling, charging, this absolutely incredible lock-on, and you can have them fight enemies, carry objects, and break down walls.
Now that's what I call a log jam.
Why does he sound like Jorgen?
One of the most notable changes from Pikmin is that Impas follow you. Instead of automatically taking gems back to a Luminol, Impa portal, you have to manually lead them there yourself. Which is simple enough. Defeat a generic plant enemy, make a handful of Vampire Impas, now we can lift a ramp, find a rowboat, and make it back to the cruise ship. We're rewarded with yet another fantastic cutscene.
Johnny, Dennis, I was so worried about you.
Mavis, I'm so glad we found you. Do you know where my backpack is?
That was the only line Johnny has in the whole game. Anyways, with monsters still stranded and Neptune's compass missing, Drac and Mavis are tasked with returning to the island, saving their friends and escaping the Bermuda Triangle. And you know this is where the game really starts because now there's a timer. Just like how Pikmin has its day timer, Monsters Overboard has a night timer. I actually really like that. I'm playing as a vampire. It makes sense I can't go out during the day. It's a really charming way of connecting the game's setting with Pikmin's gameplay. Back on the island, I grow some more Impas, build a bridge, and find a new enemy type, a coconut crab. The design is the obvious joke, but I can't say I don't find it funny. Oh hey, there's another one! And another one! And another one! And two more. Eventually, I stumble across Wayne buried in the ground and am tasked with finding his kids, to which I roam around, defeat some crabs, grow some Impas, and gather up his kids. Okay, I'm done with going through the game step by step. There is nothing else to this. Hotel Transylvania 3 Monsters Overboard is a game about walking through bland, samey looking hallways, fighting a single enemy dozens of times in a row. All you do in each of the 3 islands is clear obstacles until you reach the monster you need to save, gather their missing objects, gain a new Impa type, and continue walking down the hallway. You know how everyone calls blue Pikmin a key because their sole purpose is to deal with water, and water's sole purpose is to give blue Pikmin a point? Yeah, that doesn't just summarize every Impa, that summarizes this entire game. Run forward and use 4 Vampire Impas to lift a ramp. Push boxes with 3 Franken Impas. Build sand bridges with 1 Mum Impa. And open dirt walls or bone gates with a single Wolf Impa. Congratulations, you solved every puzzle in the game. Puzzle is too generous a term. Busywork. This entire game is brainless busywork where every challenge is the same. Sometimes a dirt wall is blocked by stench plants, so wolf impas can't reach it unless you remove the stench. Otherwise they'll follow it and die. Or get soft blocked. You block these scents by lifting ramps and building sand bridges. Combat isn't any better. Impas automatically attack anything they get near, which, while useful for initiating fights, makes it incredibly difficult to manage them during fights. While whistling provides Impas with a shield, there's such a hefty delay to it that it's functionally worthless. But on the off chance you catch their attention, the Impas either get stuck or get re-distracted on the enemy and die anyways. So I usually found myself swarming the coconut crab my entire army and praying it dies before it killed anyone. And I specify the crab because this is the only enemy you'll be seeing. The plants just disappear, and the third lizard enemies are so late game, your max army size is large enough to just instantly delete everything. But before you get to that point, you're stuck with a small army and a lot of crabs. Crabs that drop a gemstone worth 2 impas, enough to cover the losses from fighting the crabs. Time to walk the gem back to base manually. Sometimes you can gather a good supply of gemstones and make it to the next Impa portal, but sometimes the crab just so happens to snipe one too many bum-blow Impas, and now I don't have enough to bum the blows. So instead of making progress, I now have to walk all the way back to the Impa portal just to grab one more Impa, then walk all the way back to where I was. In other words, when you're not walking forward throwing keys at locks, you're walking backwards to get more keys. This is the whole game. Here I found a weighted switch that needs 20 Impas to make a path to the other side. My cap is currently at 15, but as Frank and Impas weigh 2 each, I can press the button if I have enough of them. Unfortunately, because I brought an even number of Impa types like an idiot, I can't open the path unless Dracula is also on the button. So I either have to walk all the way back just to swap my Impas out for Franken Impas, or I have some fun and cheese the puzzle. Which I do, and then instantly lose the 5 Impas I'm able to bring across the bridge, requiring me to head back to the Impa portal anyways. Upon returning and doing the puzzles intended, the Franken Impas I have get stuck in between the enemies and die. On the next night, I return a third time and actually kill the crabs, losing 2 Impas in the process. I need 4 to carry the treasure. If I didn't learn the cheese earlier, this would have been a 4th trip to the Impa portal and back. 4 trips of this. And every time you head down this path, Dracula provides voice lines about an objective I already completed.
Poor Frank, he's gone all to pieces.
Despite being a Hotel Transylvania game, the series is only relevant because you play as a vampire who can't stay out past his bedtime. That and the fact they will not shut up.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Voice lines repeat constantly, whether it's for generic actions or for specific locations.
First she smelt it, then she dealt it.
And because this is a game where you traverse the same location several times in a row, these voice lines just keep repeating. Over
Poor Frank, he's gone all to pieces.
and over
Poor Frank, he's gone all to pieces.
and over.
Poor Frank, he's gone all to pieces. I've got a bad feeling.
Here's a voice line hinting that I shouldn't come back until I have more tools.
I don't think we can get through there yet.
I have all the tools. Dracula just lied to me. Adam Sandler would never do this. Here's a voice line about building a hotel.
I wonder, I built a hotel here.
Unfortunately, because they got stuck on the crab, the specific Impa I needed to move the next obstacle died, so I had to run back to grab one more.
I love sand between my toes.
Shut up.
Like that shut up was guttural.
I built a hotel here.
Then I went back to grab the treasure.
I wonder. I built a hotel
He
here.
built a hotel here.
Then I went back to deposit the treasure.
They did, they just made it like a 10%. Oh, never mind.
At least you can switch to Mavis and get some new voice lines.
Perfect spot for a hotel.
I hope you've been enjoying the footage on screen, by the way, because you've probably noticed how terrible this game looks. I'm not going to spend much time bashing the graphics themselves, they're bad, who would have guessed. But I can't ignore how every location looks so bland and uninteresting. There's barely any landmarks or flavor to the islands. It's so easy to get lost and start running in circles, which triggers more voice lines.
I wonder what's around here.
Half the time, the only way I could find the correct path forward was when I stumbled across an uncleared obstacle, and if I couldn't find the path I'm looking for, then the next best option was to open the map. You know, by ending the night, and going to the stage select, and then translating that into level space. This only added to my constantly struggling imp count.
Wait, one busy or lost
Get over
info?
here.
Where could that be? Where did it get left behind? Where is it? I want a map. I just want to know where it is.
If impas ever went missing, I had no clue where they were and had no method of finding them. And due to the tedium of walking around, which is already the only thing you do in this game, I stopped caring about lost impas rather quickly. Even if I knew where they were, it felt more worthwhile to continue down the linear path instead of rescuing the single wolf impa holding open the gate. Comparatively, grinding takes less time and gives more impas. And the crab just killed 2. But not to worry, the stone it dropped gives me 2 more. Man, doesn't this sound fun? Reaching the end of an island and finding a boss that locks you into its arena just to further demolish your imp account. A boss that literally starts throwing free impas at you because even the devs recognize how impossible to navigate the encounter is, especially on the first playthrough. And once you regain a moderate impa supply in the second island, the crab boss shows up because of course it's a freaking crab. And it has this stupid disjointed spin attack move and you fight it by throwing a Franken impa when it charges at you, but not every charge. Only the ones where it's highlighted in blue. Information you only learn at the cost of some more impas. Man, I need a can opener. I need a can opener. I need a can opener. Honestly, this is exactly the kind of experience I should have expected. I mean, it's Hotel Transylvania 3 Monsters Overboard. It's clear there wasn't a whole lot of passion behind this project. This is just industry standard licensed shovelware that just so happens to be taking mechanics from Pikmin. Why rip off Pikmin of all things? In all honesty, I think the developers really enjoy the series and assumed using it as a blueprint would be an automatic recipe to a bare minimum fun game. But unfortunately, this is a game that doesn't understand what's actually fun about Pikmin. While I praised the Night Timer earlier for making fun logical sense, in practice, it just slows down gameplay by preventing you from making progress every 10 minutes. While the same could be said for Pikmin 4, which also lacks a game-wide time limit, the core difference is that Monsters Overboard is physically impossible to multitask in, and that's because of the impas and the level design. Starting back in the first Pikmin, one of the most vital parts of the experience was the Pikmin's independence. Not only is it just fun to watch them do their own little things, but it's also the basis for the higher level optimization, the Dandori. Carrying objects, breaking walls, building bridges. These are all just timers you can speed up by using different types or amounts of Pikmin. Even some enemies are timers. But because these assignments finish without any extra input, once they're started, you're free to continue playing the game. Like, babysitting Pikmin back to the onion quickly becomes a boring, time-consuming task. But it's a task the game doesn't want you to do. Instead, let the Pikmin carry and go do something more fun. By seeking out this more fun playstyle, you also wind up playing more efficiently. This is actually one of the main reasons Pikmin 4 lacks a game-wide time limit. While the first game's 30-day timer forces you to speed things up right from day 2, Pikmin 4 encourages a more casual, inherent joy of feeling efficient. But by keeping the day counter, even with an infinite time limit, it's still possible to replay the game, reduce your day count, and feel incredibly satisfied in doing so. With Monsters Overboard, babysitting impas back to the impa portal isn't a decision. It's the gameplay. The most multitasking I was able to do was when I threw an impa at a wall, then walked down a different path. Despite including the day timer mechanics, despite literally saying to multitask in the loading screen, this game can't be multitasked. Stages are straight lines, so returning to an impa portal is an exceptionally slow affair where you're doing nothing the whole trip. Meanwhile, Pikmin areas offer multiple ways to get back to base, where everyone who finished carrying is there waiting for you. Returning to the Onion always feels like a celebration, and even the act of walking there can feel rewarding because during the detour, you likely have Pikmin working on other tasks. Later games also introduce multiple captains, Go Here, the Idler's Alert, and so many more options that act as powerful multitasking tools that further remedy this potential issue. Hotel Transylvania 3 despite already having 2 separate characters, both appearing in every cutscene, limits you to 1 at a time. It feels like every decision this game makes is to specifically avoid being fun. But I guess that's the fate of a licensed game. I mean, while they're not particularly known for their quality, I highly doubt any licensed game devs actively seek out to make a bad experience. Every issue I've gone over can be chalked up to a lack of time and budget. The bland levels, repetitive puzzles, and pitifully low enemy diversity is just what you get with a very prominent deadline. Excessive use of limited assets. I bet they did consider automatic carrying in multiple characters, but wound up ditching them for time because they're particularly tough mechanics to implement. And you probably didn't need me to tell you the original voice cast did not return for this game. The people they did get recorded all their lines in a bathroom.
Without this, it would be nearly impossible to navigate these treacherous waters.
Although Keegan-Michael Key's still here for some reason.
Impressive!
But honestly, I'm more shocked at the fact that this game wasn't even that buggy. Don't get me wrong, there are bugs, but every issue I ran into was, at worst, a minor inconvenience. Nothing dissimilar to what the game was already having me do. Most of these problems are even just normal problems you get from trying to make a horde management game. But I still haven't properly figured out that part, right? Like, why start from Pikmin? To me, the most likely reason is that the devs just got bored. With a job consisting of making monotonous mediocrity day in and day out, never getting the time or budget for an actually meaningful experience, finding ways to spice things up is probably done to make game development more fun. Tourist Games were likely hired to make the Hotel Transylvania 3 tie-in, and while trying to figure out what kind of game it should be, someone probably connected the dots between vampires only being active during the night and Pikmin's daytimer. From there, like stated earlier, copying Pikmin's blueprint is a safe bet to make a bare minimum fun game. Not to mention, one of the other projects being worked on include Beast Quest and Paw Patrol on a Roll. Developing a game as unique as Pikmin sounds like a godsend. Unfortunately, they lack the time to implement the actually fun parts, giving us a crappy game about walking down hallways. There's barely even a connection to its own movie, which is something I'd assume would be priority number 1. This isn't even supposed to be a Hotel Transylvania game. This is supposed to be a Hotel Transylvania 3 game. Did Sony not give them any details on the film? Or did they have all the resources necessary and just didn't follow through with them? Whatever the case, I could easily see kids who like the movies being disappointed with this game. It sidelines its own series to focus on the Pikmin-y aspects, which is insane to think about. And even while ignoring its namesake, even with the surface level addition of the timer mechanics, there's still clear effort put into this game in a myriad of places. Absurdly disproportionate effort, but effort nonetheless. Like, this game has dynamic music. Just like Pikmin, the soundtrack shakes things up in combat. Is this just another part of being thoroughly dedicated to the Pikmin craft? But if there's effort being put there, then why are the islands you explore just called Island 1, Island 2, and Island 3? It would have taken 5 seconds to put in literally anything else as a title. Shellfish Island, Bermuda Bay, Crabland. It doesn't take a lot of effort to be even remotely unique. And then suddenly, the final upgrade for collecting every treasure is Big Head Mode? Goofy freaking Big Head Mode? This is not something you put in a game without having some fun with your job. But then they ran out of time to make dialogue triggers deactivate? What the frick is this game? Oh, yeah. This game is bad. As expected, it's generic licensed shovelware that just so happens to be taking mechanics from Pikmin. But after using it as a blueprint, they lacked the resources to implement the actually fun parts, but had to continue through development to get the game out alongside the movie. So if this game seems at all interesting to you, please don't. Do not give it your time, money, or effort. It's not worth it.